Hello everyone, this is Professor Robert Solis. Welcome to this video lesson. I just want to show you a very gentle and quick introduction to the if statement. And we're going to create this program where we enter a quiz score and then we're going to get a particular response. So let me quit the program and show you the code behind this in Visual Studio. Now what I did was I created various versions here, so let me go ahead and uncomment this and start with version 1. So I'm going to uncomment this by clicking this button over here, and I will comment all these other versions, and we're going to get to those in just a moment here. So let me just kind of go down here. We're going to talk about all this stuff over here in a moment. Right now what I want to do is just focus on this part where I have to obtain the user input from this text box and then display the message pass or fail based on a score up to 100, say for example. So I've declared a variable called quiz score as a double because the user might type in 99.4, say for example, or 73.2. We want to give the user the opportunity to enter a real number. That's why I declare this as a double. And then I have a message that's declared as a string. It is an empty string initially. I initialize that, and then eventually this is going to say something like you failed or you passed. Now let's go ahead and get the user input from the text box and put that into quiz score. I'm going to convert that to a double, put that into quiz score, and then I'm going to use relational operators to determine if the score is less than 60, because if it is, then I want to display the message you failed. Otherwise, that's what that else means, I'm going to display the message you passed, or at least I'm going to assign message to the string you failed or you passed. So the relational operators look like this. You've probably seen this symbol, which means less than. This means greater than. If you want to communicate less than or equal to, then that's how you do it. You can't switch these around. It has to be less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. If you're trying to determine if something is not equal to, that's the symbol right there. So we call those relational operators. Alright, so in version 1, the way that the if statement works is this. You are trying to determine if this statement is true or false. If it's true, you execute the statement immediately underneath. If it's false, then you execute the statement immediately underneath the else statement. So either this statement gets executed or this one, but not both. Alright, so if I run the program, oh by the way, if I continue over here, so message is either going to be assigned you failed or you passed based on the user input, and then down over here at the bottom, all we're doing is taking that message and putting that into the text property of the label, which means we're going to display the results over here, and as you can see, I've named this thing LBL result. Right? The name is LBL result, so that's why we have this over here. The message is being assigned to the text property of LBL result. Okay, so if I run the program and I type in a number like 70, say for example, submit, you passed. Let me change this now to 40, say for example, you failed. Okay, so the program works. It displays either one message or the other based on the criteria that's entered by the user. So that's version 1. Let me now comment this out. So I'm going to comment that out, and then I will uncomment version 2. Version 2 really does the same thing, but from a different perspective. Here I was asking if the quiz score is less than 60. Here I'm asking if the quiz score is greater than or equal to 60, because if it is greater than or equal to 60, then you passed. Otherwise, you failed. So again, just from a different perspective, again, I'm going to run the program, and I'll enter 40, you failed. I'll enter 70, oops, sorry, you passed. All right, so this version also works. Again, it's just from a different perspective. It depends on what you want to test. We call this the Boolean expression. Sometimes people call it the predicate. The idea is this a true or false statement? Because if it is true, you execute immediately underneath the statement. If this is false, then you execute the else statement, which is located right here. Okay, now let me go ahead and comment this out. And let's say that you are asked to display the actual letter grade that the user earned based on their quiz score. So what I'm going to do over here is uncomment version 3. and show you a multi-way if statement. And the way this works out is as follows. If this is true, then you execute the statement or statements underneath the if statement. But if this is not the case, then you execute the next statement, which is this one over here, and ask the question, well, since quiz score is not greater than or equal to 90, is it greater than or equal to 80? If that's not true, then you test this, then you test this, and then finally, if all the above is false, then you are going to execute this last statement. So let's see what happens if I enter 59. Is 59 greater than or equal to 90? No, it's not. How about this? Is it greater than or equal to 80? No. Is it greater than or equal to 70? No. Is it greater than or equal to 60? 59 is not. No. So then, since all of the above was false, you are going to execute this statement, which says the message is going to be assigned the text, you got an F. Let's try this again. Let's say that I have 79. Okay. Is 79 greater than or equal to 90? No, it's not. So we skip over here. Is 79 greater than or equal to 80? No, it's not. So we skip over to here. Is 79 greater than or equal to 70? Yes, that's a true statement. So now we execute this statement here, which is to assign the message, you got a C, to the variable message. So that's how the if statement works, or a multi-way if statement. You have all kinds of different options. Think of it like the buttons on your car stereo. You have 5 buttons, and only one of them can be pressed, and the rest are depressed. So only one is true, and the rest are false. You cannot execute more than one of these. So it doesn't work like this. For example, if this is true, let's execute this, and then this, and then this. No, it doesn't work like that. You only execute one of these based on the condition, if this is true or false. Only one of these are going to be executed. If all of the above are false, then at the very least, this else statement will execute. Okay, so let's see what happens. If I start and let's say that I got a 79, you got a C. How about an 89? You got a B. 99, you got an A, so forth and so on. So how about 45? You got an F. So this if statement, or multi-way if statement, checks for several different possibilities and then executes them. Okay, so now let me comment this out and talk about another version. Let's say that maybe you want both messages. Maybe you want to display you passed or failed plus the grade, say for example. So let me go ahead and uncomment this section over here. And I also use version 2 as well. And let me read the comment that I wrote for myself here. This version uses version 2 to display either you passed or you failed. Then it displays, put that here, displays a second message under it stating the grade the student earned. All right, so we are still going to display the letter grade, but we're also going to display a message above it. So let me run it and then I'll talk about the code. For example, if I type in 89, you passed, you got a B. How about 45? You failed, you got an F. So there's 2 statements that we want to display, and I wanted to show you how to do that using the concatenation operator and also the VB new line statement. So we're still checking for the quiz score greater than or equal to 90, greater than or equal to 80, so forth and so on. We're still checking for that, but notice what happens. This is the old message that's going to be concatenated or connected with VB new line, which means go to the beginning of the next line. See, when I run this code, and if I type in 89, say for example, do you see how you passed is displayed on the first line? Then we go to the beginning of the next line to display you got a B. How do you go to the beginning of the next line? This guy right here, VB new line. All right, and then we're going to concatenate that with the message, you got an A. So see, this is the old message, whatever it happens to be, either you passed or you failed. And that's going to be established up here. See, the message is initially going to be given the statement, you passed or you failed. And then what we're doing over here is we're saying, okay, whatever that message happens to be, you passed or you failed, also add to it, go to the beginning of the next line, and an additional statement, you got an A, B, C, D, or F. This is the new version. So this is the old version. We are going to assign that to the new version. So in other words, this is kind of like an updating statement. This is what message was. This is now what message is. So we're using the multi-way if statement to determine, hey, if you got a quiz score above 90. You didn't? Well, how about this? Is it greater than or equal to 80? But of course we know it has to be less than 90. Otherwise the above would have been true, right? If it's not greater than or equal to 90, then we know it has to be less than 90. So this is really asking, is the quiz score greater than or equal to 80? And of course, is it less than 90? If this is false, then we know that the quiz score has to be less than 80. Otherwise, this would have been true. So here we're saying, is the quiz score greater than or equal to 80? And we know, of course, that it has to be greater than or equal to 70, and we know that it has to be less than 80. If that's the case, then this is the message, and so forth and so on. So let's see what happens here. Actually, I already described what happens here. Let me just type in a 78, say, for example, over here, and then click Submit. You passed, you got a C. Okay. So this is how you would display multiple messages, or multiple lines, I should say, of text. You would just use the VB new line, and you're going to concatenate that to an already existing text. And that is it. Okay, so this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Have a good day. See you next time.